Alright, these are the directions for this finch lab. So here's the link to the lab there, and let that open, and then you can open the document here. And in this lab, you're going to be looking at Darwin finches, which we've talked about before. And so this Darwin finch here is a species of finch that has a certain kind of beak, and that beak is important because that's going to determine what this bird eats. So if this is a ground finch, which I think it is, they eat seeds off the ground, and the bigger the beak, the larger the seed they can crush. Males start out as juveniles black, and then eventually they turn brown. Females stay brown all the time. Males start out brown and then eventually turn black. So you may see these two different colors, but they're the same kind of bird, males and females. So then you're going to click where it says click and learn. So launch interactive, this thing right here. And that will open up a new window here. So you're going to read this information here, and that is going to help you answer these top questions here. So make sure you read this. Make sure you read this and then answer the questions there. And then it says click on Get Started, and you're going to sort by song. So let's go back here. So let's click the Get Started. So you're looking at different species of finch on the Galapagos Island and what keeps them separate from each other. Why don't they just interbreed with each other? How did they become different species? So the first part is to sort by song. Only male birds sing. And the male bird usually learns its song from its father, and no two male birds are going to sing the exact same song, but the songs are going to be similar, and so they're similar enough, but they're different enough that the females can recognize their own species. So then it says, can you? And so you're going to see here if you can sort the birds based on their bird song. I actually have to pause here because I forgot to turn on the sound in my recording, so let me do that. Alright, so click any of the birds, and you're going to hear their song. And so let's just say that kind of sound. Anything that sounds like that, I'm going to make that species A. And then I'll say that one sounds different, so I'm going to make that one species B. This one sounds more like species A. And this one sounds more like species B. So you're going to do that. You're going to drag your birds to their different sections. So go ahead and do that. Pause this video and then come back when you're ready to move on. Make sure you've sorted all the birds. Alright, so the next step is to actually look at the sound of the what's called a spectrogram, which is a visual representation of sound. Make sure you go back to your worksheet, which is back here, and you are going to write what is a spectrogram, and then we're going to see if you want to change your sorting at all. So now I've got my birds here, and I can see their song this time instead of just hearing it. And so based on that, do you make any changes to what you've already sorted with your birds? So I see this tweet, 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 pause, tweet, 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 pause kind of thing going on over here. And so I'm actually going to take the bird I put over here and I'm going to put it there, because that seems to match that, the tweet, pause, tweet thing. This one also has that. And then these are more just rapid fire chirping here. This has a pause in it. And so if you do change any of your birds sorted, you want to make sure that you write about that on your paper. So there is my bird sorting based on my spectrogram. So you can go back to your Cami doc here. Did you make any changes? You can put yes or no. What convinced you to make the change, or what convinced you to leave them all alone? And so make sure you fill out that. And then go on to the next section. So the next section is looking at the birds. So finches can recognize members of their own species according to body size, shape, and color. But as you'll see, the two finch species on Daphne major, they don't look all that different. So now we're going to look at them. So now, do you want to change anything? And so remember, like I said, some birds are brown and they turn black. So just because this bird is a little bit brown doesn't mean that doesn't fit in. But if you want to make any changes here, if you move any birds, or if you don't make any changes, then make sure you write about that. So one of the things I'm looking at here is I'm looking at this bird's beak, and I see that it's like sharp and pointy, and the rest of these guys seem to have fat beaks. And so I think I'm going to decide to move this one over to this side, and then look over here, do any of these guys. So this guy here, but he really looks like he's singing the song that matches over here. So maybe I'll leave him for now. Anyway, if you made any changes based on appearance, make sure you write about that on your document here. So finches recognize their species by looking at what 3 things, and then any changes that you made and what convinced you or convinced you to not make those changes. The next section is beak. So you click next, and now we're just going to focus on their beak. So to humans, one of the more striking differences among finch species is the shape and size of their beaks. Click continue to zoom in on the finch's beaks, and then sort the birds again based on this characteristic. So these dudes all look like they have the same beak, except for this one. This one, which very clearly looks like birdsong that it fits in, but it really looks like beak-wise that it fits over here. So that's a little bit confusing to me, but I know the reason that it's over here, and so I still think I'm going to leave it here just because of the song. So again, if you make any changes here, you want to make sure that you record that in your document here. And then the next thing is you click on reveal species. So here, oops, sorry, that one. So here, you click next, and then it's going to give you let me close this in the background. It's going to show you the names of the birds. It doesn't like tell you, here's how many you got right and here's how many you got wrong, but you need to take a screenshot of this. So let me click continue. And so I look at the names. So these are G. fortis's, fortis. This one I had wrong. So this one is a Scandens, and so this one belongs over here, but don't move it yet. Okay, don't move any of these. And then all of these over here are Scandens, except I got this one wrong. Okay, so you're going to take your screenshot. What I do when I take a screenshot is I paste it into my drawing program on my computer. Let me clear that out. And so I just paste that there, and then I crop it, so I'm just looking at the screenshot. And then I save it to my computer. If you're taking a cell phone picture, you could just take that, and then just email it to yourself. But I need it saved to my computer. So I'm going to put that on the desktop. I'm going to title that Finches. I already have something titled Finches. Finches sorting. Alright. Then I'm going to go to my Cameo doc here, and it says take a screenshot of your sorted birds and insert your screenshot here. So I go to the add media. I open from my computer, from my desktop, and I find the finches sorting, and I open that and I just drop it in. So that to me is the easiest way to do that, but there are lots of options there. You could also put it in your Google Drive, and you could take it out of your Google Drive. So if you have it on your phone, you could just upload it to Google Drive using the Google Drive app, and then you could just insert it that way. So whatever works for you, as long as you get your screenshot in there, but you're going to have to figure out how your specific computer and your specific screenshots work, but you need a screenshot here of your sorting. And then you need to count how many you got right. So I got 2 wrong, so I would put that I got 11 if I wrote on this. Here, I would put that I got 11 of the species correct. I'm not going to take off points. It's just you're counting how many you got wrong and how many you got right. Alright, so then you go to next there, and then there's a little quiz here, which you're going to answer the questions. But before you do that, you want to answer the question here. So what trait allowed you to most easily? So which one gave you more of the right answers? Which one made it easier for you to sort? So song or appearance. And then instead of taking the quiz, click where it says Daphne Major. Oops. This one. About Daphne Major. And you're going to read about Daphne Major, and you are going to so read this, and then you're going to look at a map of Daphne Major. So it says, what's a group of islands called? The Galapagos are off the coast of what? How did the islands come up at different times? Give 2 reasons why people who have never been on Daphne Major. What 2 species of finch live on Daphne Major? What does cactus finch eat, and what does the medium ground finch eat? And so you're going to insert a picture. You could just search for it. So you go to add media, and then you could go to Google image search, and you could do medium ground finch, And it's the one with like the fatter beak. That looks like a medium ground finch. Alright, and you can drop that in or resize it, or you could go Google one and insert it, whatever you want to do. The medium ground finch. And then the other one is a cactus finch. So again, add media. You could go to Google image search and you could do cactus finch. Or you could, that looks like a cactus finch. You could, what was I going to say? Or you could draw one by hand. Like you could just sketch one out, however you want to do that. So there is a cactus finch. So, about Daphne major, read this, answer the questions. You're going to click on view map of Daphne major here, and it's going to open up a map which is marked on the Galapagos Islands. So now we're down here on your paper, and what you need for these islands, Daphne major, Santa Cruz, Isabella, and Ferdinandina, you need their topography and vegetation. So in order to get that, you want to zoom in on Daphne major, so just zoom into the Galapagos Islands and keep centering Daphne major. Alright, so that's the island of Daphne major. This is a new pin. I haven't seen this before. So anyway, no one lives here on Daphne major, which is why I'm wondering what this pin was about. But there's no one living here. It's actually a fairly small island. So if you you need their topography and elevation. So topography, vegetation. Topography is like, is it flat? Is it hilly? Is it, are there mountains? Are there volcanoes? What is it like? So it's mostly flat. You can see like from the ocean it's pretty flat, and then there's a crater kind of around here. So that's what I write for topography. Here where it says Daphne major topography, mostly flat. There is a volcano crater in the middle of the island. I would write something like that. And then for Daphne major vegetation, when I look at for plants, it's pretty brown. Okay? There's not a whole lot of plants. Like if I zoom out a little bit, you can see that the other islands, like if I come over here, like this is a different island, and you can see it's way more green. So the Daphne major island is pretty sparse vegetation, so there's not a whole lot of plants. What there is here is pretty spread out. It's not very green. So I would write about that, like not a whole lot of vegetation. What is there is pretty spread out. And then you're going to do that same thing to Santa Cruz, Isabella, and Ferdinandina. So zoom out again, and then find the island of Santa Cruz, which is the big one right here. And then when you zoom in, don't zoom in. Santa Cruz has people living on it. So like that's not nature, that's a farm. Don't zoom into farms. Like we don't need to see what the people are growing. That's not natural. Try and zoom into a place where there aren't roads, where there aren't people, and then write about that. So don't zoom into like the city here. Zoom into a place where there's not a whole lot of people, not a whole lot of roads. And so you can see that Island Santa Cruz is pretty green. There's lots of green everywhere. Even if we ignore the farm, it's still pretty green. And also, if you look at like topography, it is pretty flat, except there's some, no, it's pretty flat. I don't see any mountains or anything. It looks like they live right on maybe a volcano or something here. This looks like it might have a little bit of elevation in the center, but mostly it looks pretty darn flat. So I would say that it's fairly flat. I don't see a whole lot of elevation, so that's what I write about for topography. And then you finish the other islands the same way. So what are they like topography-wise? What are they like vegetation-wise? When you zoom in, don't zoom in to the volcanoes. So there's a couple volcanoes on each of the islands, and if you zoom directly into the volcano, then you're not going to be getting a picture of like its topography or its elevation, because you're looking directly into a crater of a volcano. There's not a whole lot in there. So like here, there's a volcano crater. That's not going to give me an accurate representation of what the island is like, since I'm zooming right into the center of a volcano. So there's no vegetation in the center of a volcano, but obviously there is vegetation on the outside. So don't zoom directly into the center of a volcano. All right, that's that section. You're going to fill that out, and then to get back to the other section, you're going to hit this circle here to go back. This takes you back to the quiz that you're going to take this time. You're actually going to fill it out. And then, what else does it ask you for? So go back, answer the quiz, multiple choice questions, click next, and then you're going to read about spectrograms. So spectrograms we saw earlier. So here are the beaks of the two finch species. Can you identify them? And this one is the ground finch, the fat one. And okay. And so then you are going to read about spectrograms. So click this. You read about spectrograms. There are songs here for you to listen to. This one is cool. This one's humans talking or singing. And you can see that, like, people, our spectrograms sound totally different from birds. Okay? And this is a human whistle, so that sounds totally different. And so you're going to read about spectrograms, and then you are going to answer the questions here in this section. And then you click more about bird songs, and then you're going to read the section here on bird songs. And then the last thing is the multiple choice questions, and to get to that you click the back circle, and then you answer these questions here, and then you answer the final questions here on your paper, and then you can go ahead and turn that in.